George Best was not just a football player. He was an artist on the pitch and a rock star off it. His name is etched into football history as one of the most naturally gifted players the world has ever seen. A figure who defined an era. George Best was a Northern Irishman whose impact stretched far beyond the boundaries of a football field. Let's delve into the life of the man who once famously said, "I spent a lot of money on booze, birds, and fast cars. The rest I just squandered." A star is born. Early life in Belfast. George Best was born on May 22, 1946, in Belfast, Northern Ireland, to Dickie and Ann Best. Growing up on the Craigie estate in Belfast, Best was known for his love of football from an early age, a love that became a lifeline amid Belfast's troubled neighborhoods. His father, a dedicated man, supported Best's passion, buying him his first football boots when he was just a child. These fields of Craigie molded young George into a footballing prodigy, setting him apart from his peers. Though he showed great academic promise, his true calling lay in football, and this single-minded passion set the stage for the rise of one of the greatest wingers of all time. The environment around Belfast during that time was tough, yet football was an escape for Best, a way to shine in a setting that offered few opportunities. He played at every chance he got, often honing his skills against older, stronger boys, which only sharpened his abilities further. This early exposure to competitive football shaped his fearless style, helping him develop the skill and flair that would captivate millions in the years to come. "I think I've found you a genius," scouted by Manchester United. At just 15 years old, George Best's talent caught the eye of Manchester United scout Bob Bishop. Bishop's famous telegram to manager Matt Busby stating, "I think I've found you a genius," speaks volumes of the immediate impact Best's talent had on those who saw him play. Best's first attempt to join Manchester United was shaky. He got homesick and returned to Belfast, unsure of himself. However, with his father's encouragement, Best went back to Manchester, ready to take on the world. By 1963, he had made his first team debut at the age of 17, scoring his first goal in that debut season, signaling the arrival of a new sensation, the rise to stardom, the Holy Trinity. George Best quickly rose through the ranks at Manchester United and became one-third of the iconic Holy Trinity of Best, Bobby Charlton, and Denis Law. Together, they terrorized defenders and delighted fans across Europe, with their dynamic synergy propelling Manchester United to new heights. Best's unique playing style, dribbling past defenders effortlessly, changing directions in a flash, made him a nightmare for opponents. He wasn't just a goal scorer, he was a complete playmaker whose assists made Law and Charlton even more dangerous. They weren't just a trio, they were Manchester United's heartbeat, a combination that every defender dreaded and every fan adored. The trio symbolized a golden era for Manchester United, bringing glory back to the club in the form of league titles and the historic European Cup win in 1968. Best's charisma on the field complemented the intelligence of Charlton and the goal-scoring prowess of Law, making them an unstoppable force. The chemistry between them was almost telepathic, as if they knew exactly where each other would be, resulting in some of the most memorable attacking football Old Trafford has ever seen. European glory, Best at his peak. In 1968, George Best was crowned European Footballer of the Year after leading Manchester United to victory in the European Cup, the first English team to achieve this honor. His performance against Benfica in the final, where he scored one of United's 4 goals, was nothing short of magical. Best's excellence during that campaign saw him score a staggering 28 goals in just 41 games, showcasing his prowess on Europe's biggest stage. At the age of 22, he had reached the very pinnacle of world football, with his exploits inspiring millions around the world. The accolades poured in, and he soon became the face of football, a phenomenon, a heartthrob, and an icon all in one. The Playboy lifestyle. Best's Playboy lifestyle is legendary, and in many ways, he became the template for modern celebrity athletes. He dated movie stars, drove sports cars, and partied at the most exclusive clubs. The public loved him for his charm, good looks, and carefree attitude. He was football's original rock star, At times, the tabloid frenzy around his life overshadowed his footballing talent. But despite the late nights and endless parties, Best remained one of the best players in the world, often arriving at matches without training, but still putting in dazzling performances. Unfortunately, the consequences of this lifestyle eventually caught up with him, and it marked the beginning of a gradual decline in his career. The battle with alcoholism. George Best's battle with alcoholism is well documented, and it became one of the defining features of his later life. It started as part of the rock star persona, but eventually, alcohol began taking its toll on his health and performances. His behavior grew increasingly erratic. He missed training, turned up late for games, and even disappeared entirely for days. Best famously announced his retirement twice during this period, only to return each time because football was in his blood. Sadly, alcohol wasn't something he could outrun as easily as defenders, and it led to him being repeatedly sanctioned by Manchester United before finally parting ways with the club in 1974. From Manchester United to a nomadic existence. After leaving Manchester United, George Best's career took a wandering path, with him playing for numerous clubs, from the Los Angeles Aztecs to Hibernian in Scotland. Though he could still produce flashes of brilliance, such as the time he scored 6 goals in a single match for United against Northampton Town, the consistency and magic that made him the world's best were fading. He never stayed at one club for long, and with every new transfer, the media frenzy only grew larger, documenting not just his football, but also his partying. His career was no longer defined by goals and victories, but by the growing spectacle of his off-field antics, which ultimately overshadowed his immense talent. The legacy of George Best. George Best remains one of the most beloved figures in football history. His impact went beyond just the goals he scored. He revolutionized the way the game was played, making it faster, more skillful, and more entertaining. He inspired generations of young players, proving that football could be a form of art, where players could express themselves as much as win games. The likes of Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo owe a lot to Best for setting the standard of dribbling past entire defenses. His flair, combined with his maverick personality, set a benchmark for footballers who came after him. Despite the decline, fans remember the magic, the goals, the dribbles, and the entertainer. The end of an era. George Best's death. Best's struggles with alcohol continued even after his retirement, leading to serious health complications. Despite receiving a liver transplant in 2002, Best's health never fully recovered, and he eventually succumbed to multiple organ failure on November 25, 2005, at the age of 59. His passing marked the end of an era, and thousands gathered to pay their respects at his funeral in Belfast. Football legends, celebrities, and fans alike all came together, not to mourn, but to celebrate a life that had given so much to the game. In typical George Best fashion, he left us with one last quote on his deathbed: "Don't die like me." A poignant reminder of his struggles, but also of the undeniable joy he brought to millions. The genius of George Best. Remembered. George Best's story is both inspiring and cautionary. He was the kid from Belfast who conquered the footballing world with sheer talent and charisma. Yet his off-field struggles show the double-edged sword of fame. Belfast City Airport being renamed in his honor and statues erected in his memory are just small testaments to the legend that George Best was. His legacy lives on through Manchester United's culture, through young players who aim to emulate his style, and through every fan who remembers the glorious days when George Best graced the football pitch. He taught us that the beautiful game was indeed beautiful, especially when he played it, and despite his imperfections, George Best will forever be the standard of footballing brilliance. Thanks for sticking around, football fans. If you enjoyed this journey into the wild and incredible life of George Best, the genius who dribbled past defenders and, well, occasionally dribbled past life's responsibilities, don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe for more stories about football legends, wild careers, and the best moments that have made the beautiful game truly beautiful.